Hello to anyone watching this. So for Smash Bros. Ultimate's 5-year anniversary, Nintendo have just randomly announced there's going to be, cute little spirit event, get more bonuses, buffs, all that cute stuff. But also that there's going to be 4 brand new spirit events. And for me at least, it raises a lot of questions. Most namely, why did they stop doing them in the first place? Like the fact that the last spirit we got was like 3 months after Sora's release, and it was a singular one for Evil Ryu, who just started his own road that would seemingly never be finished. It just made no sense, and it makes even less sense that they're restarting them again for exactly 4 events, but it's just the more the merrier. I'm happy to get any, even if it's a really weird amount at a weird time. So today I just wanted to go through what these 4 new spirit events could be, how many spirits we could get, what games they could come from, just all the fun things that literally don't matter in the slightest to anyone apart from me, because I just like thinking about these things. I think that the little spirits events that they were doing during the game's main life, they were always so excited, like literally every week that there was going to be a spirit event, I would check and see if there were new ones. Like, I just always enjoyed getting them, and it's genuinely exciting to me that we're getting new ones, so I just want to talk about them just for my own amusement, So firstly, but perhaps most crucially, I want to talk about how many spirits we could get, because like I said, Evil Ryu just randomly started a row that we thought would never be finished. So are they going to finish a row now? Are we going to get a new row? It all depends on what the games featured are, because some games you could only really pluck 1 or 2 spirits out of, but some games you could easily get 3 or 4, like the bigger spirit events. So while I can't really predict exactly how many there are going to be, I want to just put out 3 guesses that would lead to the total being satisfying. The first number is 7, which would mean that Evil Ryu's row would be complete, as would My Will to Live. The next number would be 12, which would round the total number up to 1525, which would be nice to see. And the final number is 15, which would obviously be the best, not just because it would mean that all 4 new spirits events are going to be on the bigger side, but because it would mean that 2 rows would be completed, and the selection would once again be square, and all will be right in the world. But away from that, there's the actual characters that we're going to get themselves, which is interesting to think about, mainly because of how many events we're getting. Like, they consciously chose to do 4 new events. We could have done more or less, but they've gone for 4, meaning that they obviously think these 4 games are the most impactful to come out in the 2 years since the Evil Ryu event. So the way I'm going to do this is that I'm basically just going to rapid fire a load of different games that could be featured. I don't really mind what turns up as long as it's a well-rounded bunch. And I think they're only going to do first-party games, because I don't know why they would go to the effort to get Bayonetta 3, Bayonetta, or anything like that at this stage of the game. So yeah, while I may be excluding some potentially obvious games, I just wanted to go through the ones that made the most sense to get an event. And I'll just quickly talk about why I think it would appear, basically just how obvious it is that it would appear, and also just chuck up some of the potential PNGs that could be put into the game. But before I get into that, there is one interesting third-party thing that I do need to mention, just to cover all my bases, because in the base game there were scrapped spirits for Jet Force Gemini, and guess who's rocking up to the party on the N64, eh? So yeah, those Jet Force Gemini spirits could actually turn up, which would be oddly full circle. Like, it's sort of weird how serendipitous that's all ending up. So it could actually have a good chance of appearing, but you never know. I just thought I'd mention it because I thought it was kind of funny. But on with the first party games, the most obvious one is obviously Mario Wonder, because it's a Mario platform. That's like the basis of Nintendo, so it feels sort of like an inevitability that it's going to be represented. Plus the fact that it has plenty of unique unique characters that it can use for spirits, I just think, yeah, there's no point really arguing against it. Next is Tears of the Kingdom, which, while it doesn't have the same amount of new characters as Mario Wonder, it's still one of the biggest hitters of the past 2 years, so it feels sort of inevitable that it will be represented, even if it just ends up being, you know, your normal Triforce holders with all of their new designs. You could pluck some of the newer side characters as a 4th spirit or something, but it'll probably just end up being the Triforce holders. With Kirby, it's a bit trickier because obviously he's had his big new game, you know, the Forgotten Land, but that's nearer 2 years ago now, while Return to Dreamland is a year younger than it. And even though it's obviously an older game, it doesn't have many new characters. The fact that it's got its own unique art style and stuff like that could mean that they want to re-represent some things with the newer art style, so I don't know, could either way, you know, it'll be fun. Considering that Sword and Shield got its own special event back when it released, it just feels very likely that Scarlet and Violet are going to get their own set of spirits. You know, it doesn't really matter which Pokemon appear, it's just nice to have representation of the new generation in general. Although, I do hope that like with Sword and Shield, they keep the starters as one spirit rather than 3 separate spirits. I just think that's a lot more convenient. I really hope that Pikmin 4 gets some representation, mainly because since the release of Smash Ultimate, it has given us nothing. Because obviously the series has been dormant until earlier this year, really. So yeah, there's obviously a lot of new creatures, captains, everything to take from Pikmin 4. So it's just fingers crossed, really, you know, just go for it. I know this isn't said often, but I think there's something interesting that can be done with Fire Emblem in Smash Bros. Because with Engage, because there's so many ring form characters, you can do a lot of 2 for the price of 1 spirits. You know, you can have an Engage character with a ring form character in the background, you know? It could be fun. The more interesting part is who exactly could be added from Engage. Because while obviously you're going to have a Leer, it's just a matter of who's going to come with them. Because pretty much all Smash Ultimate Spirit events have been capped at 4 new spirits. But obviously there's 4 main princes and princesses in Engage, so could you cut a Leer and just have the princes and princesses, which would be more interesting, but then you're just cutting the main character? Or do you just go more basic early game, just have Clan Fram and Vanda, you know? It's anyone's guess, really, you know, very exciting. I haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles 3 yet, and I don't know who any of these people are, but it just sort of feels likely, considering how much Sakurai wanted Xenoblade 2 in the base game, let alone DLC. You know, it just sort of feels right that 3 gets in as well, in its only chance. And the last of the bigger games is Splatoon 3, which does feel like another one of the more inevitable ones as one of Nintendo's bigger new franchises. But really the most interesting part is just seeing if Deep Cut come as 1 spirit or as 3. Because the other idols came as 1 spirit, but you never know at this point, they could have forgotten their old ways. So fingers crossed they do the right thing and make them 1, just so there's more room for more Splatoon 3's newer characters to be included as well. Away from the games that inevitably will get in, I just wanted to go for a few more games that I really hope don't get in, because they just sort of feel like wasting space when there's such a limited amount of slots. First is Mario Strikers Battle League, which I mainly hope won't get in because I don't want to see that game ever referenced in the rest of my lifetime, but also because there's already been Strikers Spirits in Ultimate, and yeah, not everyone's got their Strikers look in the game, but I just don't feel like we need any more. While Kirby's Dream Buffet was a unique game, I don't really think it can bring much to the table in terms of Ultimate Spirits, because the most interesting thing it could bring is probably just fruit, and Pac-Man already has enough of that, so don't really need it. Nintendo Switch Sports would just feel like such a complete waste, because the only thing you can really do is just have sports mates performing in each of the different sports, which wouldn't really help anyone. While Detective Pikachu would probably bring in different Pokemon that aren't already represented. It would also just feel off because they're not the newest Pokemon, you know? They'd be more blast from the past than anything at this point. And while WarioWare Move It does have unique new designs for all of its characters, it's once again characters that we've already seen, so we don't really need more of them when we can have newer characters. But yeah, that's everything I can think of. I really hope I didn't come across too sort of rambly or just sort of mentally unstable, because like I said, I've just always really enjoyed the new Spirit events. Like, I always enjoy getting any form of new content in a game, and Spirits just felt like the most satisfying way to get new content in Smash Ultimate, apart from the obvious DLC packs. So it's just so exciting that there's going to be more of them. Like, actually more of them are coming, just randomly announced on a Thursday. But yeah, if you have any questions or concerns, do let me know. Obviously, I can't really be braggy if anything I've talked about today comes true, because a lot of these things are just statistical inevitabilities, you know? The only thing I can really brag about relating to Spirit events is when I called the Paper Mario Origami King event happening a day before it was announced. But bye-bye, have a nice day.